So this is the iPhone 17 in sage green 256 gigabyte model, and in this episode I'm going to share with you my 2 weeks later honest review with this phone. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology, and I want to give you my updated thoughts about the iPhone 17 after 2 weeks of ownership with this device. Let's begin by talking about the price to value ratio. Now, this is the iPhone base model I've been wanting ever since for a while now. So 120 Hz ProMotion display on the front really has elevated the experience of this phone. And I always said that Apple could make a 120 Hz iPhone without cannibalizing the sales of the Pro Max simply by not offering as great of a camera, and they did exactly that. You have great cameras, but not as great as what you'll find on the iPhone 17 Pro Max. And so for that reason, and also a smaller battery, so for that reason, people are still not going to buy this over the Max if that's the phone they were aiming for initially. Maybe a few will. They'll say I don't need a Max, but it's not going to be the majority. I've been to the stores. The iPhone 17s are widely available. The 17 Pro Max, they were all flocking over those phones, and those are the ones that are hardest to get. So the Max still remains one of the most popular here in the lineup. But this one, for the price, is still the best value this year. If you go over here to the Apple Store and then you hit iPhone and you click on iPhone 17, you'll see that you're going to pay $799 for either lavender, mist blue. You can get sage, white, or black, and it's going to be like $829 if you don't have a carrier, but still it's the same price as before while doubling the storage to 256 gigs and also giving you a smoother display, bigger battery life. This is basically like a light version of the 16 Pro. So definitely with a better color options as well, because you get the base model color options. So I've enjoyed it. 6.3 inch display, 48 megapixel dual camera. We do have 8 gigabytes of RAM, Apple A19 base chip, which isn't as good as the Pro chip, but it's something, and a 3692, nearly a 3700 milliamp hour battery with iOS 26. This really just does give you kind of most of the premium experience that you would want from any iPhone at a cheaper price than the Pro Max, and even the Air. So when it comes to the body and build, I do find this phone to be rather a mix between the iPhone 16 Pro and the iPhone 16. So from the back, you would think it looks exactly like the 16, but it's actually a little bit taller because it is a 6.3 inch phone. And so for that reason, it's nearly identical to the iPhone 17 Pro in the height. Also, if we take a look at the displays, they do have the same height and width there, 6.3 inch. So it's basically the same as that with like the look of the iPhone 16. And I personally thought the 16 was a better looking phone than the Pros last year, even because of the vertical camera versus I call it the stovetop camera, but it's a triple camera array. I think this is one of the cleanest looking iPhones in the lineup this year. Sans the iPhone Air. That's probably the cleanest because it's super thin and light looking, but the 17 otherwise is the second best to me in the lineup. Some people might differing opinion, but yeah, the overall body and build, definitely very clean with the aluminum. We do have ourselves the camera control right about there, power button here. And you'll see at the bottom, we do have the speaker grill as well as the microphone holes, USB-C. While it doesn't charge as fast as the Pros, it's still USB-C. Over here, we do have the action button and the volume rockers. Up at the top, you will find yourself antenna line there, antenna line there, and there. So they're kind of like not super in the way. But if you definitely like a green sage looking color, this is definitely going to be the way to go. One of the things about this phone that has struck me over the past couple of weeks is just how much screen you get for the weight. It's 177 grams. So this thing is pretty lightweight for a 6.3 inch display. And they were able to achieve that through the aluminum frame. And this also does have an improved ceramic shield too on the front. And so while this is the eSIM model only on this one, they do have a nano SIM available, but it's just not here in the US. Now this one right here is 8mm thick, so it's not going to be the thinnest on the block. But 2 weeks later, it never felt like a huge phone. It felt pretty standard, like what you're used to. And it feels comfortable. It feels like what you're used to already. So I do think if you are looking for an iPhone that you're kind of used to the thickness and size of, but you want the updated specs, you want a cheaper price than the other versions that came out this year, there's no other way to look. You just go with the base model. And a lot of articles out there are saying the 17 base is the way to go this year. Yes, they're saying that because a lot of these articles are directing towards the average consumer, which a lot of people are. But there are reasons still to get the other ones. There really is. This phone's just not going to be enough for somebody who wants a max battery, who wants triple versatility cameras. So there's still reasons to get the other one. But I get where they're coming from because this is a way better value than before. But still, for me personally, as a content creator, I'm not going to be using this as my main like I would the iPhone 17 Pro Max. But definitely, it's still a very strong option this year, much better than before. And I love this upgrade for people who have the iPhone 12, the iPhone 13. Now, moving on to talk about the area of display. One of the good things about this phone is that you get the same brightness levels as the Max and the 17 Pro. So that's one of the great things. It's also ProMotion. And this first reminds me a lot of like what Samsung usually does, but lately they've been giving the ultra sharper resolution. But this still has the sharpest resolution, just like you get on the Pros. It's still the same pixel density. And so it's really, you don't really have any like downgrade to getting this display in actual terms of quality. They also do have an anti-reflective coating on here as well. Mine's not going to show too well because I do have a screen protector on it, but if you want that, you could definitely be pretty happy here. The size is also an improvement because if you are playing games or if you are going to be doing media watching, it is improved over previous base models. So you're not only getting brighter quality display over your previous iPhone, you also will be getting a much better size as well, 6.3 inch. So especially if you're coming from maybe a mini or something, this is going to be a big jump for you. And so 6.3 to me, they achieved it through the thinner bezels. So it doesn't really feel too much different than a 6.1 in terms of holding the phone, but you do get the bigger size due to reduction in bezels. So I do like what they did here. It does remind me a lot of what they did with the iPhone 16 Pro of last year. And so this is a really great option in the area of display. You can also do something you weren't able to do before on previous OLED models, is go into the accessibility, scroll over here to display and text size, and they have this new feature down here with the 17 models, display pulse smoothing PWM. So you can go ahead and put that on and you won't have that issue no more. And I noticed when I turned it off, I was getting a little bit of rainbowing as well. But you can turn that on right there and you'll be on your way. So display smoothing PWM, it's no longer an issue here for Apple iPhone 17s. That can be a big deal for those of you who have been really putting off because you've been wanting an LCD iPhone. That's never going to happen really. So this is the way to go now with the iPhone 17. Now, when it comes to platform, we are looking at iOS 26 on board here. This is 26.0.1, and there is quite a few upgrades. Mostly they come in the way the software looks. But one of my favorites here has got to be the call screening feature. So let's go down here to phone. We'll find phone right here, and we'll scroll down and you'll see the screen unknown callers. This is one of the best features of iOS 26.0.1. You can filter them out as well, just like you could do on Pixel phones before. You can also change in iMessage backgrounds and stuff. And the biggest one is the ability to have clear icons and lighter version tints as well as liquid glass. So if we go over here, you'll see clear. We can tint them to be like this, or just kind of grab the color of the wallpaper, like a sage look right there. And you can match up very nicely with the phone itself. I think that green looks pretty nice with those icons. However, I find myself kind of leaving them the way they were before, simply because I kind of like get confused where the apps are. It takes your brain a little second because your brain kind of has color-coded memory of like the color of the app that you're used to clicking. So it could take a little time to adjust to that, but it's definitely there. Also, the visual elements along this phone definitely make it feel like a new phone if you didn't upgrade yet to 26. So if you stayed on 18 or whatever and you get this phone, it'll feel like an all new phone, not just in the display being nicer and the design being nicer, but also the visual elements that are across iOS right here. You'll see them all over the place, including on like when you hold down applications like this, they'll slide across like that. You'll just see a lot of this liquid glass elements throughout the UI, and it feels very consistent. And but it is to me a little bit more in your face than before. It's not as minimal looking to me. It's more visually trying to catch your eye more. So to me at first it can be a little bit more distracting, but once you get used to it, the core software is still basically the same. So you still get those same quick updates and all that good stuff, and the same core applications that you're available across the iOS experience. So it's been pretty good. I will say in terms of performance, you've seen some of my speed tests already. This thing is capable. It's a very capable phone. While it is 8 gigabytes of RAM, they clocked that A19 at 4.26 gigahertz. That is very fast clock speed. If you take a look at the CPU history, you'll see we were scoring things that would have been on MacBooks in the past. 9080 in the multi-core. I could have swore like a few years ago, MacBooks were getting them kind of scores, some of them. But of course, the M4's chips are going to be faster and all that in these current Macs. But still, I mean, these phones are powerhouses in your pocket now. And the 17 is no different whatsoever. It also, the only issue though with this one is I think long term, the 8 gigabytes of RAM will show its age, especially like maybe year 4 or 5. But 8 gigabytes of RAM has been a standard in the industry for laptops, computers for a long time. And so I don't think it's going to be a major issue, especially for, daily use of an iPhone. People are telling me that even their 6 gig of RAM iPhones still run really well today in 2025. So I think you're set to go on the iPhone 17 for quite some time if you decide to buy this phone. Let's move things to the camera. We have dual 48 megapixel cameras, and they do have one ultra wide and one standard wide. Now, let me know your thoughts. Would you rather have the ultra wide or the telephoto? Now, personally, I don't feel like you really need a telephoto because this crops in on that 40 megapixel sensor, giving you 2 times. It can zoom 10x. So this is essentially similar to like what the iPhone 10 had years ago with its telephoto reach, but it also has ultra wide. So you basically have about 3 cameras, even though it seems like it's 2, because they're cropping to give you more zoom. So this feels like a triple camera, but it doesn't feel like a dedicated triple camera that can let you zoom even further. It's not a periscope style like you'll find on the iPhone 17 Pro Max, 17 Pro. So those features are a must. You got to go to the Pro. This also does have macro mode, which is quite nice. And another thing, this is not even camera related, I forgot to mention, is that you also have always on display on this phone. So if you do want to go to the 17, you will finally on a base model get always on display. So if we go right here, you'll have always on display right here, and you'll be able to display that pretty much whenever you want. Clicking the camera control allows that camera to also be a pretty fun experience. And for some reason, I don't know if it's me, but like it feels like this camera control zooms a little smoother this year than last year. You can go to video and you could still do 4K 60. So you are capable, if you know what you're doing, you can get some really pro level results. You can also do spatial video, something I didn't see on the iPhone, what was it? The iPhone Air? I think that's spatial photos actually. If we click right here, spatial video, something you couldn't do on the iPhone Air. So there's actually some improvements on this over the Air. Of course, you're going to get your different settings right here, and you'll have to adjust to the new liquid glass camera interface. It is quite different. But over here, you'll see exposure, flash, styles, aspect ratios. And if I go ahead and flip around, one of the biggest updates here is going to be the center stage camera. So if I go ahead and click here, you'll see we do have ourselves a very nice center stage camera that allows us to go wide angle right there. Now, I think that's going to be absolutely huge for the base model. Reason being is I think a lot of people that buy the base model are taking a lot of photos of family members, group photos, social media stuff, maybe even more than the people buying the Pro Maxes. I feel like a lot of people buying these also are doing a lot of like rear camera work. So this is going to be a big deal for the base model. Glad they were able to put that on every single iPhone this year. It is a really standout feature with these phones. But I want to move on past the camera and talk about the next area, which is battery life. I don't typically use low power mode, but this one, I got to tell you, you don't really have to ever use it because this phone has excellent battery life. Let me click over here and add controls. If we go down here, we'll see if we could find, let me just do it like this. Low power mode. Low power mode. So I don't feel like I'm ever going to need this on the iPhone 17. And I definitely don't want to use it because then it puts my phone back in 60 hertz right here. But low power mode is just not an essential feature on this phone. 3700 milliamp hour battery nearly allows this thing to last like iPhone 16 Pro levels. And I was raving about the 16 Pro all year before this phone came out about how I love this size, how it has great battery life. This is basically another iPhone 13 like year with these great battery lives, even on the base models. So yeah, battery is your thing. This is going to be no problem whatsoever getting you through a full day. Absolutely no issues whatsoever. It doesn't charge as fast though, so charge this thing up before you start your day because it doesn't charge super fast. It's not horribly slow, but if you put this thing on a charger while you're driving to work or whatever, it should give you some juice as well. But it is USB-C 2.0. One thing I want to say though is that it does have pretty nice network performance as well. Fast Bluetooth 6.0, Wi-Fi 7. So the connectivity standards and 5G performance is actually better on this than the older 5G iPhones. So you're actually going to notice a boost in those performance areas as well. Now, if you don't get a boost due to your carrier, we can't say that's about the iPhone. That would be more related to your carrier. Like some prepaid carriers are borrowing network, so they're not going to be as good as some of the higher postpaid options. But still, you know what I'm saying here is that this phone as a phone is actually better than like iPhone 13, 12. This is just a better phone for those areas as well. You wouldn't think about it too much because a lot of people use their phone more as a little pocket computer now. But when you do need this stuff, it actually plays in. It's super reliable. Emergency SOS and Find My via satellite special features are also available. And the actual speakerphone performance on this, I found to get nearly as loud as the iPhone 17 Pro. So this thing, there's not a lot of sacrifices on this phone. And you could see why a lot of articles are saying the 17, the base model, is the one to get. I can tell you on my final verdict 2 weeks later, the iPhone 17 model is the one to get. If budget is a concern for you, you don't want to buy $1,000 plus phone. But also, if you find yourself never really wanting a heftier phone, the iPhone 17 Pro, 17 Pro Max, they're thicker, they weigh more. They're not like super heavy or nothing, but they weigh more. They're not as they're way more for this. Gives you like 90% of what those are giving you for way less. So from a value perspective, if you're looking for value, you have finally got it here with the iPhone 17. And honestly, I'm very happy that they brought promotion here because it finally feels like the base model is really worth it now. And 2 weeks later, I can't go back to using something like a 16 or prior. And I'm not trying to sound like some snob over here. Like I'm saying that like as a, somebody who's upgraded in the past, I feel like when we were upgrading from 13, 12, I always felt like with the 60 hertz, we were always missing something. And I feel like now you decide to get this one, you're not missing out. But also a lot of your older phones, the iPhone 16, 15, 14, they probably all still work just fine. This is not a necessity. No upgrade this year if you have a pretty recent iPhone is a necessity. But if you do want to do the upgrade, it's not a drawback either. I think this is one of the best lineups in years, actually. So thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns about the base model 17s, be sure to drop them down below in the comments. People will chime in. I'll try to get into as many comments as I can. I can't get to all of them, but I'll try my best. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you all in the next review, comparison, speed test. Nick here. Be sure to be well. Have a great day, and peace.